Welcome to the Heart-Centered Entrepreneur Podcast. I want you to be rich. Yes, I want abundant financial success for your business. But I don't just care about your business making money. I care about you too. I want you to be rich in happiness, in the impact you make, in your relationships, and in how you give back. I'm Anna. I built my six-figure business as a side hustle while I was pregnant with my daughter in 2016. Now I've helped dozens of women do the same. I'm here to help you build a profitable, heart-centered, fully booked business with the latest tips on sales and visibility, with proven mindset hacks, and sneak peeks behind the scenes with what's working right now in the online space and in my business. Ready to make more money with heart? Let's go. Oh my goodness gracious. You're going to love today's episode with RuthAnn. She is an amazing designer and heart-centered entrepreneur, and she made an audacious goal to make $75K in the first half of the year so that she could have freedom to have her maternity leave. And we had done a strategy intensive to plan for it, and she was able to make that happen despite her uncertainty on if I was always sure it would happen, but how beautiful that it actually happened. And so I cannot wait for you to hear her story, because as you can hear, she has such a genuine, loving heart, and she's just an audacious entrepreneur, an audacious mama, and I just so treasure my conversations with her, and I'm so grateful for the women that I've been able to support for multiple years now. For me, it's such a blessing to work with clients long term. So tune in to RuthAnn's story, and I would love to hear if you have any ahas or takeaway moments. Also so excited to share that enrollment is open for the mastermind. The mastermind is actually what RuthAnn started in. And so if you are in messy middle entrepreneurship, you already have an existing business, service-based or coaching-based, you're a heart-centered entrepreneur, and you're looking to grow to 10K months and beyond in your business, I would love to be your coach and invite you to apply to the mastermind. It only takes about 10 minutes. It's a free application, and it doesn't obligate you to anything, but this mastermind does book in advance. So I encourage you to apply, and then that will unlock a free 30-minute clarity call with me where we can discuss all of your business goals and see if my coaching is the fit you need to scale to six figures, multi-six figures on part-time hours, even if you're a busy mama. Okay, without further ado, enjoy today's episode. Friends, I am so excited to share with you a return guest, and that is RuthAnn, who is a rebrand designer, owner of R Artspace, such a heart-centered entrepreneur, such an amazing mama. You know her, you love her, and the crowd goes wild. Just kidding. Okay, let us know. Introduce yourself to us.
I am so happy to be here, first off. So thank you so much for having me. Yes, my name is RuthAnn. I'm the owner and lead designer behind R Artspace, and it's a boutique branding studio, and we help women, coaches, and service providers up-level their business so they can charge premium prices and be seen as an industry expert. So it's a little bit about my business. And then on the personal side, I'm a mama to three. And yeah, I live in Kansas City on the Missouri side, and yeah, just doing our thing over here.
And you make it sound so easy. Like, how old are your kids right now? Do you feel comfortable sharing?
Sure. So they're 4, 18 months, and 3 months. So it's been a little bit chaotic, but we're making it work. We're figuring it out one day at a time. That's what I just tell myself. It's one day at a time.
And I just think like that context is so useful, because when you see someone like RuthAnn, who is such a powerhouse, and if you've enjoyed the Heart-Centered Entrepreneur website or brand or anything that looks pretty around here, it's basically RuthAnn's fingerprints. She has been working on my brand and business for years now, and you just are a creative genius. And so I love that context that you have littles at home, because I think it, for women listening that do have small kids, or maybe they're thinking about having kids, it's just that context of what's possible for them, right?
And I always love it when I hear other women who have littles at home. I always feel so inspired, because I'm like, okay, they can do it. I can do it. You know, whenever they reach milestones or whatever, I'm like, okay, this is possible. I can figure this out. So yeah, I hope this is helpful and encouraging to your listeners for sure.
Yes. Okay. So I invited you on because a number of reasons, but we did a client interview, I mean, maybe at least a year ago, right?
The intensive, yes, it was in November.
Yeah. Or I mean, no, I feel like I've had you on the podcast before, right?
Oh, yes. That was, when was that?
I should have done my homework.
I'm trying to think. I think it was probably I think it was like 2 years ago now.
Okay, around 2 years ago. So
I
if the
think so.
listeners are listening to this, maybe they heard you 2 years ago, give us a little update about what's been happening for you in the last 2 years, and then, yes, since our intensive, kind of what you've been able to do too.
Well, oh my goodness. So much has changed in the last 2 years. Well, I added two kids to the mix, so that always changes things. Where I was a couple years ago was I was I'm trying to think like how to make this succinct. I think I was just like in the slog of the day to day, doing everything as I usually do. And I was kind of resistant to the fact of like hiring out. I've always been resistant to that. Anna, like I have always wanted to do this by myself. Like I have wanted to do all the branding, all the design. I never wanted to hire out or ask for help. And part of that was just because I am such a creative. I love that part of my job and I never wanted to outsource that part. I think in the other instance also I was just never comfortable leading a team or having a team or like being the director of like all these people and managing communication. I was like, no way, that is so not for me. So I think I was just in the day to day doing what I know to do. I really was trying to work on my mindset, but I had still so much to figure out, as we all do. But just looking back, thinking about a couple years ago, I was very much in the day to day trying to figure out how to be a first time mama. I think I was pregnant with my daughter at the time, and there was just a lot going on. And it just felt like I needed to figure this out on my own.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And I think it's just such an interesting point because I think like probably people listening to the first podcast, it was such a testament to the ability to grow a successful business, to sign aligned clients, to serve people with heart and integrity, right? But then there's this messy middle piece of like, okay, I want to keep making money and growing my business and growing my impact, but also like I am capped, right? I am full. And so, really figuring out that plan for scaling, which really for you and so many entrepreneurs is team.
Hmm.
And not just increasing sales, but increasing the capacity for clients. So, take us through a little bit of that. Maybe where you were at when we were having our intensive last year, but maybe some of what you've done and the ups and downs along the way.
Yes. Well, you said that so well that you get to a point where you're capped. And that was me. Like, I was just, I think mindset wise, I was also capped. And like, I was just feeling like this is all I could make in my business. This is all I'll ever make. Like, I'll never be able to like hit ceilings or hit milestones. And it just felt, I think that time in November, I remember the line I said to you specifically was, where is everybody? Like, I was so frustrated because I was like, I'm just not getting floods of inquiries. I'm not getting floods of clients. Things are happening. It's like steady, it's medium. It didn't feel like anything was like happening. Like, I'm like, I just want a lot of success, not in like a prideful way, but I just want the income where it feels good, where it feels like I'm not so stretched thin. Like I want to feel like it's more than enough. And I remember telling this to you too in my intensive, like the money I make never feels like enough. It always feels like it's barely scraping by. Like, why can't it be enough? And I did have a really good month one time when you were my coach at the time, of course. And I think I had a 12K month, and this was a few years ago. And I was like, that's awesome, but I could never do that again. Like that was the thought I had was like, oh, that was a one-off thing that'll never happen again. And so I feel like that time last year I was capped like with my workload, but I was also capped with my mindset. Like this can never happen for me. And even though I say affirmations and I was doing things like I don't think my belief was actually there. And you called something out in me that really like changed my life. And I think you just showed me what was possible when I didn't see it for myself. And you told me that, so I was going on maternity leave. So in November, I was newly pregnant again. I was going to go on my third maternity leave. And I was like, there's no way. I basically thought I was going to close up shop. But Anna, you know me, I've always thought I'm going to close up shop after I have a kid. I'm like, oh, this is never happening again. Like, I'm done with work. I'm done with this. And you were like, RuthAnn, because I was nervous about maternity leave and coming back, because I always am. And you were like, RuthAnn, you can absolutely make 75K in the first part of the year and then just be set for maternity leave. You can relax, you can take time off. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Like 75, that's more than I made last year, like total. And I was like, that's not for me. But you planted that seed in my mind. And I was like, is that possible? Could I really do that? And I think it just helped me make CEO action. It helped me take CEO actions. And so I was thinking like this actually could happen. And I think it did something in my mind. And I just felt like I was open to receive. And I was doing a lot more like mindset work and listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, and really trying to work this muscle of mine. Like, can I receive more into my life? Can I like relinquish control of my business and invite other people in? I have so many things that I can talk about with the intensive, but I think I'll pause myself there because I mentioned in the intensive, like, oh, I found a WordPress development team. So I'm expanding into WordPress and they're going to help me. And you were like, why can't you already do that with Squarespace? Because I design in Squarespace. And why can't you have a designer in Squarespace? And I was like, oh, that's so not for me. No way. And then after our intensive, it's like, I do think I need a Squarespace designer. I think she was absolutely right. Okay, so I'm gonna pause
No,
for a
no, keep
second. So
going. No, please, 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 please.
so after our intensive, I hired a Squarespace designer, and this was in like February, I think. And she is fantastic. I love her so much. She's so good. And shout out to Emily. And I have the WordPress team. And I also, around that time in November, I brought on a copywriter to my team because that was a huge hang up with me for websites. It was just a bottleneck where I could not get my clients to give me the copy. They needed so much help. I was trying to help them, I was trying to write copy for them. And that's just not my expertise. I know a lot of things. I know how to write copy strategically, but I am not a copywriter. And so it was something I was like, I need to outsource this too. So I brought on a copywriter to my team. And I feel like my mind like opened up. And I messaged you in, I think it was after I came back from maternity leave or something. I was like, Anna, I just wanted to tell you I met that goal where you said 75 in the first half of the year. I did that. And it's crazy because it's like, what? I just never thought that was possible for me.
I love that so much. It's so true. Like when we set a goal, even a goal that in my mind is very realistic. Like when I said that, I actually believed it. I wasn't just like making things up, right? Because you had an established business, you have practices, you have an established offer, you're an amazing designer, right? I fully believed, like, yeah, actually, this is easy. She just makes 75K in the first half of the year. She takes the second half of the year light or whatever, right? But it's true that before something comes into existence, it really does take faith. It really does take, this is this impossible thing I've never seen happen in my life. And I just have to wait on time and God and things to come to fruition, right?
That is exactly how I felt. Going into maternity leave, I was like, I don't have a whole bunch of clients booked like I was thinking I would, but I'm just going to trust that it's going to figure itself out. Like, I do have money saved, so it's going to be fine. And the week of my maternity leave, I signed my biggest client to date, which was a 20K project. And then I also had another big client sign. And so it was one of those things where I was like, I didn't think this was possible, but look, it's happening and it's happening to me. Who would have guessed? Like, it's really cool because, like you said, having that faith and just hearing that and knowing that you believed in me and that, I mean, I believe in myself, but sometimes having someone say that really makes a difference, I think.
I totally agree. Like having, I think like as independent women, like, yes, we want to believe in ourselves, but I think it's also okay to like have sisters or mentors who say, like, I see this in you. I believe this for you. And being like, wow, if that person can see that in me, maybe I can see that in myself too.
Yes.
Ah, so beautiful. Okay. Tell me a little bit about in hiring. Well, number one, bravely hiring your VA at the start of your business, but now hiring a designer, hiring a copywriter, any other hires that you've made, like talk to me a little bit about that transition. Maybe if there's someone listening that's like, I really am nervous to have an agency or I'm nervous to hire support or let go of control or let go of some of the design when I like designing. Talk to us about some of that.
So for me, I feel like I made this decision because I was backed into a corner because I have all these kids. And so I felt like I want to keep my business going and I want to do the fun part of my business. Like, I don't want to do the exporting all of these PNG files. Like, I don't want to do all the, creating mock-ups, which I really like doing mock-ups, but I don't know what book it was from, but like, it's doing the great work that you love that you're good at, and then there's other work that you like that it's not. I mean, you'll do it because it's fun and stuff, but it's like it's not like the high level work. And so what I really like to do is like design logos, design marketing materials, and that kind of stuff. And then if I can like outsource the rest, that would be fantastic. And so, my thought was, as I'm growing my business, which is very exciting, like I just don't have time for all of these things. And so if I could, bring someone else on who could help me, then I can continue to grow, I can continue to scale, and also have, time for my kids, time for my family, and do the work that I really do love, which is like the design work primarily. I am actually, as we're recording this, I am looking for a junior brand designer, so I am expanding yet again. But I think for me, something that is important is looking to the future and like visioning. And you know me, Anna, I am an Enneagram 7. I am like fly by the seat of my pants. I don't really like creating long term plans, but here we are. And something that I know that I want to do is homeschool my kids. This is something that's very important to me and something I really believe in. And who knows, I might do it for a year and be like, oh, this isn't for me. But for now, this is the plan. And so my son's going to be in kindergarten next year. So I'm going to start next year. And with that in mind, I know that my time is going to be maybe even more limited. Who knows? And so my thought is to build up my team and the agency model, which, yeah, never thought I would say that, but here we are. Build it up so that I can homeschool my kids in the future. And the beautiful thing about having your own business is you can pivot, you can change direction, you can change your mind, you can do all these things, and you're in charge. So this is kind of where I'm at now, where I feel really comfortable at now. I feel really excited about like the future and really excited about what's ahead. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But going back to team, I think, doing all the things, sometimes it's just actually doing the thing. It's just actually putting out the job post. That's like the scariest part. It's like, oh, that's not so bad. And then it's like, oh, the interviews. Oh, I don't want to do interviews. And then you do an interview. It's like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And then you give them a project. It's like, oh, that's not so bad. So it's like, it's just kind of acclimating to the process, and everything you do for the first time is going to be scary, but you just need to get over the hump of doing it the first time.
Yes, I cannot say it better myself. And I think, at the beginning of business, there's certain skills we need to learn in addition to our skill set, right? Like your skill set is your designer, right? In addition to that, at the start of your business, you had to learn sales, right? And then as you scaled, right? And at first it's like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And now you're like, you can close sales in your sleep, right? And then when it comes to scaling, there's other skills like team, right? And we're like, oh, I didn't know I was signing up for this, right? But then, like you
Right.
said, when you do it, you're like, actually, this is kind of fun. And wow, I get to employ women and be a really nice, kind boss and be supported. Like, wow, I get to pick my own kind of coworkers and like, this is fun. And so I just think it takes that curve of understanding, like, okay, this is a skill I need to learn and I can master it.
And I like that you said I can like help other women as they are growing their own businesses or doing something. And that is something that changed in my mind as well. Instead of like hiring a designer and thinking, and this is what I would have thought, a few years ago, I would have thought like, this is wrong because I'm paying them so little money and I'm making so much money. That's how I would have thought about it at first. But now I'm thinking this is an incredible opportunity for a young designer. This is something I would have killed for if I was a young designer, being on a team, learning the ropes of how to do brand design. And this is giving her a great educational opportunity, but also helping me in my business as well. So it's very reciprocal, and it's something that is hopefully she's going to take on and learn and grow her own design skill set and everything else. So it's kind of that shift in mindset as well.
Yes, I love that so much. Talk to us too about maybe some of the other hires you've made, whether it's with support for your kids or support in your business, or what has been some of the support that you feel like has most helped you grow in the last few years?
Well, I think getting comfortable with asking for help has been huge for me because I have always been, just pick it up by your bootstrap. Like, I can figure this out by myself. Like, I'm very self-reliant. I'm very much a control freak, depending on what we're talking about. So, like, I am the one to like figure it out on my own. And when it comes to the kids, something that's been extremely helpful, especially with this third kid, is like I really need help. So I am okay with asking my husband, my mom, my mother-in-law, anybody who can help me. I'm like, they're like, you want to come over for a few hours? Yes, please. And I also was looking for a sitter, and I was very much on the sitter track, looking for someone. I was on care.com. I was interviewing people. I was getting people from my church. I was just doing all the things to find a sitter. I still haven't found a great fit. So I'm still looking there, but it's one of those things where I'm very open to the idea of getting support, having support, and me supporting them and them supporting me. This is very much a two-way street. So I'm very much open to the idea of it, and it's just another, mindset opening. So, yeah, that's something is childcare. I'm always looking for a good sitter. Childcare. Let's see the hires in my business. I'm trying to think of any other help. Well, I mean, I have other help in my business as well. I have my bookkeeper. I have a podcast management team. So there's definitely support on all sides that I'm seeking out because I just know that I can't do everything.
Yes. Which what do you think the like month one Ruth Ann would have said to hearing you now? Like how much you fully embrace support? Like what do you think she would think?
She would think like, "That's not you. You're not like that." But, people change, like, and especially when you have 3 kids, 3 little kids, I will say. I just feel like it's so, all you moms out there who are doing it and figuring it out, it takes a village. It's hard. It's hard to have little ones, the emotional toll, the physical toll. I mean, there's just a lot that comes with motherhood in the young years, and so I just feel like I have embraced the help, and I'm not sad about it, and I'm not sorry for it either. I'm just like asking, and it's okay.
I love that. I would say for me too, like, I think the nice thing about motherhood is because it keeps us so busy, not just with our time, but with our energy. Like, it just takes a lot of like decision making and emotional capacity. I think it makes for me has made me made my business more lean. Like you said, like I have to hire help. Like I can't do this alone. And I think sometimes for me, I feel like God humbles me as like I'm a smart, productive woman, right? But like even I have my limits. And so I think the cool thing about motherhood being so consuming in a good way is it forces me to be efficient, to not overthink, like to just get the thing done, to send the invite. It just makes things easier in business in some ways.
Yes, 100%. It really does. And bringing someone on in any capacity is it just helps you release control, which I think is a good thing. Like I think it's nice that we are, very mindful and detailed and we like to know everything that's going on, but I think releasing control is like an act of surrender in a lot of areas of your life, and it's just a very good place to be in.
Hmm. What would you say are, because I think a lot of women, when they think about letting go of control or hiring team or having a junior designer, or maybe they're an accountant and they're hiring bookkeepers or something, like they see all the potential downsides to that. Like, what if the team member makes a mistake? Or what if, they don't do it as good as me? Or what if something like maybe you can share with us a few of the upsides now that you have team support on the podcast for these different areas? Like, what are some of the ways that your business has benefited or life?
Oh, I mean, so many ways. I just think of my, um, I mean, I could shout out everyone, but my bookkeeper specifically, she has been like a coach to me in a lot of ways, like really helping me make financial decisions and encouraging me in just like, oh, Ruthann, these are your goals and you're hitting your goals, you're exceeding your goals. Like she's just my little cheerleader, and it's amazing to have her insight and support in my business. And just for everyone else on my team, I think the upside is that they give you your time back, your mind back. Like at first, like I'm working on this website right now and I handed it off to my Squarespace designer, and she just took the rest of the site and she's designing it for me, and I'm, checking everything and doing revisions and stuff. But I'm like, oh, it's so nice that Emily has my site and she's working on the site and it's great and it's going well. it's just one of those things. It's like, this is so nice that this is getting done and I can trust her that she's doing a great job. And it's just so, yeah, I think it just it gives you a lot of time freedom and a lot of mind freedom.
That part. I think we go into hiring and we think it's going to save us a lot of time, which it does. But I think you brought up another point, which is like the mind, energy. You even said like the decisions. And I think that's the part I never factored in when I hired is, we are continually making so many decisions. And when we have a team member, we're kind of co-partnering like some of those decisions. And when we can make decisions faster, I think also for me, team is like accountability, right? If I tell myself like, I'm going to batch 2 weeks of content in advance, I'm really not going to do it because no, I don't owe it. But if my VA is waiting on it so she can schedule it, I don't like to let people down. Right. So like I will get that done in advance for her. And so I think when I have team, it's also this built-in accountability where we're doing things more in advance, more proactively, because I wouldn't want to run my business in a way where I like to create a toxic work environment, right? Like I don't want to create something rushed or last minute. But honestly, if it was just me, I would create a toxic work environment because it's almost like when I was pregnant, I remember taking such good care of my body, like eating healthy because I'm like, the baby is, but I'm like, even if I'm not pregnant, I still deserve to eat healthy, right? Like
Right.
we deserve a peaceful business too. But I think when we have team members, there's just a little more accountability to create a little bit better of an environment. What do you think?
100% to accountability. Someone, a peer of mine, we were connecting over a Boxer, and she asked me that. She was like, "How are you getting everything done?" I was like, "When I tell Shelby like I need to do something, like I have to do it because then it's like out there, and then she knows, and then we've like announced it to someone." And so like hiring a team member, I like announced it to my newsletter list, and they're like, "Well, I guess I need to post this job position." So it's just, I think that is 100% true. It's like the accountability is a huge one because then, I mean, yes, I can hold myself accountable, but I feel like if I'm depending on someone else, like I don't want to let them down.
Which is good. And I think we see that as like something bad, but I think it's actually good. Like we need each other. It's like being like,
Yeah.
oh, well, why can't I motivate myself to go to the gym instead of like, no, I just like group fitness classes. Like I just like, and I think so many women are like, I need to be more disciplined or more motivated, or like I'm an ENFP Enneagram 7 too. Right. But it's like, no, maybe that's just who I am, but maybe I just need community. Like I think God created us to need each other and to need community. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes, and that's exactly how it should be. I just feel like it's so lonely in business anyway. Like we are an island and we are trying to do everything on our own anyway. And so when you can bring in those pieces of support, it just changes everything because you don't feel alone. You don't feel like I have to carry this whole thing by myself. I have people who will help me, who are cheering me on, community, accountability, all the things. So I think that is so true.
I love that. Okay. I have a few questions for you on motherhood. Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay. So tell me, like, if someone's listening and maybe they're in a season of like making some money in their business, but they're really getting ready to scale, but they're feeling like, okay, in order to scale, AKA like hire team members or some of these things, it requires time. And I'm short on time because I'm a mom and I've got things like, what are some of your favorite tips or what most helped you in that season of like that really messy middle of like, I need to make some time to do some of these CEO things, to sell extra or to hire a team or, it's not going to pay off right away. But how do you balance the scaling with the motherhood? I guess is my question.
It's so tricky, and I'm glad you asked this question because this is something that I was wanting to know. Like, how do you do this? Because, like you said, you need to be marketing and selling to get the clients. But then when you have the clients, you have too much work, and then you don't have time to do the work because you have all these kids. And so it's like, how do I do? Like, what do you do first, basically? And for me, when I've made my hires, I did it before I had all the work. Normally, I feel like I'm trusting, this is an act of trust as well, like doing these things. I'm like trusting that the Lord's going to provide, that the right clients are going to come to me, the clients who need my help are going to be there. And so it's putting the job out there, it's trusting that there's going to be work for them and just letting it be. And then the work for me has always come in. So I'm putting a job out there, I'm hoping for the best, and then the work comes in, and then I have them to help me. And when it comes to training people, this is the junior designer position I'm hiring for right now. I'm not sure when this is airing, but at this moment in time, I am planning on doing a little bit of training with them. So I'm just trusting that I'll figure it out and that I will. And oh, I am also booking ahead. So that's kind of my plan too, is like I'm just taking deposits now. We'll start at a later date. And that is helpful as well. Cause then I know clients are there, but I don't have to do their work like right now. And so, yeah, it's just trusting that you'll figure it out and just, I mean, something has to come first. And so for me, it was hiring the person first and then letting the work come in and figuring it out from there.
I think that is such good advice because I think so often we want to see the evidence before we take the action. But I would say that for my business too, I've always seen the vision first and taken the brave, vulnerable action before it comes into fruition. And this doesn't mean you need to invest in your business so much that it paralyzes you, but it does mean sometimes you have to take little baby leaps of faith, right? Like hiring the coach a little bit before you feel ready, or hiring the team member, even though you don't have a ton of work for them yet, but you have too much work for yourself, right? So, how do you balance that, like taking a little bit of risk, but also not taking so much risk that it paralyzes you?
Well, I think it's good to have support in your life when you are thinking about taking like a massive risk. Like if it's a huge, I had this recently with my bookkeeper. We were talking about a really big investment for me. And I was like, I really want to do this, of course, because I want to jump into things. And she was like, I just want to caution you to, really think this through. Like right now, you don't have a ton of time to invest in this thing. You also are, this would kind of take away a lot of your savings. And so she was like, I think my personal advice is like to wait on this and you can invest in this at a later time. And I was like, I can take the brave action and do this thing and figure it out. Or it's that like security of like, do I want to just have money in the bank? Because that really helps me feel secure. And for me, I did decide to wait on the thing because it would help me in my mind. It would help me feel so much more secure if I know that I do have my little nest egg and it's there for me if I run into troubles or something. So in that instance, I was really listening to counsel and, listening to my numbers and support and that kind of thing. And when it comes to, taking other action, sometimes the risk isn't huge. Like yes, you're gonna maybe like lose a little bit of time because you're training someone, but it's, I think, totally worth it if they're gonna help you take hours off of your plate. So yes, the risk is there, but to me it's like differing on what the risk is. It kind of depends on what it is, but if it's training someone that is really going to help you when you have a lot of work, then I think it's necessary.
I love that you made that distinction too of like sometimes it's not just our money that we invest, but it's our time, right? Like
Hmm.
in training people. And the cool thing I noticed too is like even when we make a quote bad investment of our time or money, we still learn something from it, right? Like maybe you're training this team member and then they don't work out. Well, now you're a much better manager and now your training is all organized. So when you train the next person, it's going to be really neat and tidy, right? And so just remembering that it's normal to have those losses, but it's like taking the lessons out of it too.
Yes, and that was something we talked about in one of our times of working together in the past. Was like I would be so nervous. I'm like, what if I lose this person? What if I've spent all of this energy training this person and I lose them? Like, I would be so sad. And like, how would I find someone to replace them? And you were like, you can trust yourself that you found someone great and you can find someone again. Like, and then you have the systems in place. And that is really the mindset I have now. Like, so much of the stuff that you told me back then, like, I feel like I'm right now, like, taking it because just sometimes you're not ready to hear the thing, but I don't know. I just a lot of the things you've said in the past, like I'm hearing it now in my mind and like, acting on those things. And that's how I feel with designer. That's how I feel with all of my team members. It's like, I love you so much. I hope you work out forever. But if not, we can find someone else. And that's how it is. So it's more of like I will figure this out and we have systems in place and yeah, the right person will be there.
I love that theme that you said right there. And a few sentences ago, too, just about like, I will figure this out. I can trust myself. Like, I'm the type of CEO that, like, I know how to find clients, I know how to find team members, right? And not having to think like 20 steps ahead, but just like 2 steps ahead and just being faithful to that current season.
And I have to say, I have always struggled with trusting myself. I think I so many times in the past, I was looking to people for guidance of like, tell me what I should be doing. What should I be doing? You tell me, like, how do I find these clients? Like, you, like, show me what to do. And I think a really big shift I made this year is like really trusting myself and knowing that I can do it like on my own. Like, and not to say I'm never going to have help again. Like, and I just, in this podcast, I've talked about all the help I have, but it's like really owning the fact that like I can do this. Like I can find the clients I need. I can be proactive. I have the answers. Like if I have a tough client and I need to do some communication that's going to be tricky, something I always ask my husband and I read him my draft always and he like gives me advice. But besides that, I'm just like I can trust myself. Like I am a compassionate person. I care about my clients deeply and I can resolve this conflict. And I actually recently had a situation where there was a contract that ended up being canceled and all this stuff. And so it was one of those things where I was like, I felt terrible about the situation. And it was between team members and stuff. And I don't want to get into the whole thing, but it was one of those things where it's like, I did right in this situation. Like I communicated to both parties and everything is resolved and my client still loves me, which is great. And so it's one of those things where it's like I can trust myself to be good to both sides, to all sides, that I am compassionate, and just like affirming those things in yourself because your community is extremely heart-centered and just, you can affirm to yourself like I can figure this out. I'm a compassionate, loving person. I can respond in a loving way and set boundaries. And so it's just one of those things has been huge for me this year is that cultivating self-confidence piece.
I just feel like that whole last minute should be like required reading, listening, slash, like go back and listen to that 5 times because I think like it's so good and so true. It really is that self trust that makes us bulletproof in business. We think it's like being perfect or always making the right decision or hiring the perfect person, but it really does boil back down to that self trust and knowing that, like, even like in motherhood too, right? But like life isn't going to be perfect, but I can trust myself to handle whatever comes my way and I can handle it with integrity. And I have I have the support. I can run things by my hubby. I can run things by my coach. I can run things by my bookkeeper. But at the end of the day, I'm going to make the decision because I know best and I can trust myself to with whatever comes up.
Yes, and I just have a funny quick story. My husband, I asked him about this big investment that I talked about a minute ago, and I was like, "Okay, there's this huge investment. I really want to do it. I think it's going to help me. All this stuff because I was super excited about it." And he was like, "Ruthann, why are you even asking me? You're not even going to do what I say. So why would you ask my opinion?" I was like, "Okay, it's not about me taking direction. It's just me getting information, like getting feedback. Like, what do you think about this? But then, yes, I am going to make my own decision. So that is true." And he was
But
like,
that's
yeah, go on.
No, that's such good energy though, right? Of like, I love that he said that. We love your hubby so much, right? But just this reminder that you are in charge, but it also doesn't mean that we don't listen to other people and their
Exactly.
perspectives and their opinions. But I think ultimately, even the people that love us the most, like your husband, like your coach, they want you to make the decision. Like, you know what's best for you, right? And so, exactly like hiring coaches or having a partner that wants you to make that decision, but is also happy to give you wisdom, knowing that you're going to listen.
Yes, exactly. And it's not about like I am still listening even though I'm making my own decision. You know what I mean? So it's not like I'm just discarding information here. I'm like taking it in, I'm really thinking it through, but then at the end of the day I'm going to do what I feel is right. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I don't think I've ever heard you say it quite in that way. That makes me so happy for you. Okay.
I've grown a
Um,
lot, Anna.
I love I just the self-trust. The self-trust. Okay. If anyone's been listening to this and is like, oh my gosh, Ruth Ann is so magnetic. How do I follow her on her podcast? What does she have to offer me? Like, tell us all the things.
Yes, so you can go to my website that has everything there, my services and done for you design and website design and all the things is rartspace.com. And you can find me on my podcast at Rebrand with Ruth Ann. And I share there every other week nowadays, and because of all the kids. And then, yeah, that's those two places mainly. I'm not on Instagram as much, but you can find me there at R_Artspace. I am there, but I'm just not posting very
And
much
then
anymore.
podcast. What about the podcast?
Yes, rebrand with RuthAnn, and yeah, I
Oh,
share
maybe you said that.
bi-monthly. No, you're fine.
And then also, I think you're going to give something free away to the podcast listeners. Do you want to share about that?
Yes, I would love to invite three of your listeners can get this for free. This is my site success audit. And basically, this is where I go into your website because so many times we have a site that's just not, we're not getting leads, we're not getting inquiries. Like, why isn't this working? And I go into your site, take a look at everything, and give you feedback, design and copy feedback for what you can do for your homepage, about page, and services, like the biggest takeaways for how you can transform your site so it's more magnetic. And you can go to sitesuccessaudit.com and use code HeartCentered to get that for free. So the first three people who do that can get that for free.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Take her up on that. That is so generous. And even if you're not one of the first three, definitely buy that offer. RuthAnn just has such brilliant, practical, heart centered business savvy, and you will definitely benefit from that. And if you had to listen to this podcast and you had a takeaway or aha moment, feel free to share it with us. Tag us on Instagram. I'll just send a text to RuthAnn if she doesn't see it and screenshot over her. But we would love to hear from you. And any other final tidbits, RuthAnn, as we wrap up?
I just want to encourage all the mompreneurs out there who are figuring it out. We're all just taking this day by day. And I just want to say you're doing great and you're not alone. And I think your community, Anna, is such a brilliant community to know that you're not alone in this whole process. So I'm, so happy to be a part of it. And I'm just glad, yeah, your listeners are here. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out today. Please hit that subscribe button so you can make sure to stay updated anytime a new episode drops. And I would love for you to join me in my free Facebook community. It's called the Heart Centered Entrepreneur. We discuss the podcast episodes. I regularly go live and do free trainings. And you may even meet your newest biz bestie. So you can join at heartcenteredcommunity.com. It's absolutely free, and I cannot wait to see you in there.